Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng and the other warriors, a total of 10 of them from the 4 armies of World of Jin, looked at one another in the eyes. Then, almost simultaneously, they transformed into streaks of flowing light and headed for the towering doors. Out they flew. Not a single warrior dared to teleport recklessly. After all, the mission to receive a title was at an extremely terrifying level that all of them completely understood. In Wu Chi Tower, the world on the first level was a vast desert where bouts of cold wind blew. It was frigid, and frost could be faintly seen forming on the grains of sands. Far away was a lofty space portal. 10 figures flew in through the space portal and were surveying their surroundings. Thereafter, they gradually descended to stand on the surface of the desert. The first level of Wu Chi Tower. Luo Feng looked around at his surroundings only to see a vast desert. The end was nowhere in sight. Even the faraway space portal had vanished without a trace. The tall, skinny warrior, Xu Zhong, who was beside Luo Feng, sent a voice transmission. This Wu Chi Tower is incomparably dangerous. Milky Way, what do you think? Where could the danger be lurking? Could it be under this endless desert? Luo Feng shook his head. I have no idea. 10 warriors, a total of 6 tribal warriors and 4 beast warriors, all were exercising extreme caution and maintaining great vigilance. Out of the 10 warriors, only 2 came from the East Army, Luo Feng and Xu Zhong. The 2 naturally drew closer to one another, whether consciously or subconsciously, so that, in case either met with danger, they could rely on each other to deal with the situation. The quiet peacefulness of the desert was suddenly disrupted by a loud rumble. The impact of the energy waves spread out in all directions. In an instant, it had swept through the entire endless region. Luo Feng and everyone else could feel the vibrating waves and turned to look. Far away in the sky above the desert, a dazzling beam of light extended downward in a contorted manner, moving fast as lightning. In a matter of seconds, a huge cyan light beam was formed, connecting the desert and the boundless sky above. What is that? It seems to contain an extremely strong power. The warriors were all filled with doubts. At that moment, on the upper surface of the cyan light beam that connected the desert to the sky above, many huge black characters suddenly appeared in a distorted manner. In bold black, every character exuded a formidable, murderous intent that wasted no time in penetrating and invading the minds of Luo Feng and every warrior present. It was so powerful that even Luo Feng's willpower was stirred. Both his eyes reddened slightly, and in his heart, his roaring emotions could not seem to be tamed. The black characters continued to appear one after another. This is the passageway that connects the first and second levels of Wu Chi Tower. Those who enter this passageway will be able to enter the second level of Wu Chi Tower. You must first kill one warrior before you can enter this passageway. If you do not kill another warrior, you will never be able to leave this place for eternity. Before those lofty doors open again for the next batch of warriors to enter, warriors who had yet to enter the second level will be annihilated. Those who hide in battleship treasures to avoid the war shall be considered failed attempts. For them, the final verdict will also be annihilation. The black characters were suspended in midair, radiating endless, oppressive force. The murderous intent contained in these characters alone was enough to push every warrior to the limit of his tolerance. Such oppressive force. If it had intended to annihilate some of these warriors, who were merely law masters, one sweep through the crowd would probably have been enough to bring them to annihilation. No one would be able to pull any tricks in Wu Chi Tower. All 10 warriors, including Luo Feng, harbored no doubts about its authenticity. This was why. One must kill a warrior to be able to enter the passageway to enter the second level of Wu Chi Tower. Luo Feng was shocked. Meaning to say that out of 10 warriors, at least 5 shall die. Suddenly, Luo Feng understood why the single-horned beast true god outside had said that half of all warriors from the first 3 batches had died. Kill one. But who to choose? Luo Feng's eyes swept the surroundings. As all 10 warriors had entered together, they were all standing quite near to one another. Everyone was looking around with due vigilance. They were all considering who they should choose as their opponent, since every warrior who had dared to turn up for this mission would be quite extraordinary. If they happened to choose an opponent much stronger than themselves, they would end up being eliminated instead. Soundlessly, the surrounding space was frozen. It seemed to have been done by multiple warriors all at once. Following a wild and raging rumbling sound, one of the warriors made a move, causing the situation, which had previously been kept under control, to erupt instantly. One by one, the warriors burst into sudden action, charging toward their individual targets. Roar! An ugly beast with huge scaly wings let out a howl as he charged toward Luo Feng. "Meet your doom," said a burly warrior holding a large, fearsome hammer. The hammer was surrounded by endless lightning, and the strength of its power immediately led Luo Feng to the conclusion that this hammer was definitely an automaton-type treasure. A beam of black shot swept directly at Luo Feng's head. 3 warriors were attacking Luo Feng at the same time. Unexpectedly, 3 warriors had chosen him. Luo Feng could not help but laugh. It seemed that admitting to the fact that he was a new recruit, when they had all been outside Wu Chi Tower, had indeed brought him some trouble. He had heard it said, "Boldness of execution stems from superb skills," and this was clearly what the saying meant. He had known that he had skills that would certainly allow him to dominate over these so-called elite warriors. That was why Luo Feng had purposefully dared make such a bold statement. Luo Feng made a speedy retreat. Countless snowflakes suddenly appeared in the surroundings, manifesting in a voluminous amount. This was one of the domain-type true god-level treasures he had traded for previously, and now, he was using it to suppress and restrain these 3 warriors who were attacking him. The moment the 3 warriors who had deigned to sneak attack Luo Feng were enshrouded within the domain, he could instantly make out who they were, especially that ghostly one. The first was a beast, the second was a burly warrior, and the third was, unexpectedly, someone who was also from the East Army like himself. It was none other than Xu Zhong. "Xu Zhong!" Luo Feng sent a furious roar via voice transmission. "You and I are fellow warriors from the East Army. This is just the first level of Wu Chi Tower, and here you are, making a move on me. You are a new recruit." Xu Zhong shouted coldly. "If I don't kill you, who else should I kill?" Layers of purple light surrounded Xu Zhong, resisting the countless snowflakes that Luo Feng had forcibly imposed over him. Obviously, this Xu Zhong also had a domain-type treasure in his possession. "Ha ha ha!" Luo Feng laughed. He despised warriors like Xu Zhong the most. With a loud roar and a single movement, he transformed into a blurry blade figure. He easily avoided the burly warrior and made a dive for Xu Zhong. A dodge, followed by a dive. How simple. Yet it was enough to evoke noticeable changes in the expressions of the 3 warriors besieging Luo Feng. This set of moves not only allowed Luo Feng to easily avoid the burly warrior, but it could even throw the beast far into the distance. A weak fighter may not have been able to notice this, but these were all elite warriors. Just one glance and they could tell that this Milky Way had terrifying moves. Not good. Xu Zhong let out a low growl. Layers of white light immediately emerged from his entire being, and, very quickly, he became a white flying beast. The white flying beast shook its pair of wings and soared up high in a straight line to make its escape into the distance. This caused a slight change in Luo Feng's expression. An automaton-type treasure, Bib Bird. Bib Bird was an automaton-type treasure owned by the East Army. It was extremely skillful in escaping, though it may not have been very adept in other areas, like dodging. It was exceptionally fast when accelerating in a straight line to escape. To trade for it, one would have had to pay 600,000 military credit. It was much more expensive than Golden Claw God, which Luo Feng was using. In the category of escape, it was incomparably impressive. All Xu Zhong needed was one glimpse at Luo Feng's simple body movement, and he knew he had been driven up against a wall. With his close combat technique, Luo Feng had dealt him 10 blows, while he had, at most, attacked Luo Feng once. If the situation persisted, Luo Feng would soon be shoving him aside and blocking him out. Seeing that circumstances were to his disadvantage, Xu Zhong had taken out Bib Bird right away to immediately make his escape. "You're lucky you are fast enough." Luo Feng snorted with indifference and was no longer concerned with Xu Zhong. He was clearly aware that, with an automaton-type treasure like Bib Bird, Xu Zhong would be far too difficult to kill. Far off in the distance, Bib Bird spread its wings wide and looked in Luo Feng's direction. A new recruit. He is far more powerful than a veteran. Xu Zhong wore an awful, pained expression. Is he lying? That can't be. I know every warrior from Python River Army who has impressive skills other than the new recruits. I don't know him, so it's likely he is not lying. He must be a new recruit. But for a mere new recruit to be so impressive, I'm in trouble. Even if I manage to pull through this first ordeal at the first level, I still have the second level, then the third level. Xu Zhong was now filled with regrets. What awful foresight he'd had. The single choice he had made would be his greatest misfortune. He had targeted the most powerful warrior of their batch. Xu Zhong was quick to his escape, while the other two warriors, who also saw the disadvantageous situation they were in, likewise started to make the escape without delay. The burly warrior with the gigantic lightning hammer gave his body a shake. Unexpectedly, a pair of black wings appeared. Then he speedily flew away with a whistling sound. The beast warrior, on the other hand, was making a slow escape, or at least slow relative to the speed of Xu Zhong and the burly warrior. Whose fault is it that you are too slow? Luo Feng let out a low growl and charged over with ferocity. As Luo Feng was giving chase, slicing through space, his entire being started to transform. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into an incomparably large and savage humanoid beast. His hands and legs morphed into huge, golden claws. Automaton-type treasure, Golden Claw God, set ablaze. His godly power was instantly blazing up to the first stage. Right away, the blazing godly power penetrated Golden Claw God and traveled all the way to its core, where it underwent a change. The powerful golden claws radiated an endlessly wild and ferocious aura. No. The hideous beast with its scaly, armored wings looked behind it and was instantly dumbstruck. Golden Claw God was closing the distance from behind and was moving far too fast. How could his speed be so fast? The beast with the scaly, armored wings felt very troubled. In the first place, why had he not used his military credits to trade for something that could help him escape? He had dared come here because he had an automaton-type treasure, but it was one that was used for attack purposes. In terms of attack, he was not the least bit afraid of the other warriors, but seeing how Luo Feng was able to dodge attacks, he knew that he would be bound for failure if he continued battling Luo Feng. He needed to escape. However, he was unable to escape. With unmatched ferocity, Luo Feng flew toward the beast at such a speed that he produced a whistling sound. High up above, he flew. With legs like two large blades, Luo Feng sliced through the air with a loud whistle. With both legs, he executed his blade technique, light of water and fire. Although he was only able to execute the first stage of extermination, his level of secret technique was obviously higher than his opponent. While his blazing godly power was merely comparable to the other party, his dodging ability was much more impressive. The exchange of blows with Luo Feng had made the scaly, armored beast realize that it had fallen into dire straits. No, bellowed the beast. There was no escape for it at all. It had attacked Luo Feng, who had avoided the attack easily. He had tried to block off Luo Feng, which had caused his power to be greatly reduced. But when Luo Feng attacked him, the beast now realized he might not be able to block off all his attacks. The ferocious, sharp golden claws were like blades. Without hesitation, they slashed at the head of the scaly, armored beast, savagely sending the beast crashing toward the boundless desert. Luo Feng's legs were like blades, and with increasing brute strength and cruelty, he pared the scales off the scaly, armored beast one by one. Luo Feng was wearing Golden Claw God, and his power surged. He was suppressing the scaled strange beast. The technique of the scaled strange beast was at level 6. It was already impressive for a lore master to create a technique at level 6. Plus, he knew the first level of godly power burning techniques. He could wield the power at level 7. Besides, his machine-type valuable was a claw, and it was exceptional at attacks. It could improve the power of attacks by 3 levels, which meant it could wield the power at level 10. However, it didn't offer any improvement in defense and evading. That meant the strange beast couldn't hit Luo Feng, while Luo Feng could easily hit it. Even if it hit Luo Feng had his own defenses and Golden Claw God to protect him. As a result, he wasn't injured at all. However, if the strange beast was hit, it would lose a great amount of his godly body. It wasn't a balanced battle. The soldiers were all shocked as they watched. They were the most powerful lawmasters, who could wield limit-level power. To achieve a breakthrough and become stronger would have been very difficult, which was why there wouldn't be a large power gap among those lawmasters. However, that soldier, Milky Way. This is incredible. The body technique of that soldier, Milky Way, is incredible. His machine-type valuables are not very efficient. However, they are all of great help. Once someone is hit, he'll be crushed. His claw technique is also impressive. Golden Claw God isn't great at attacks, but Milky Way enhances the power with his claw technique. The soldiers all noticed this as they watched them do battle. They understood that they would need to kill each other, since they were required to do so on the first level of Wu Chi Tower, and their ultimate goal was to reach the top. Also, it was likely that they fought each other for some additional benefits. They needed to assess the power of the other soldiers now. All the other soldiers immediately decided, we must not mess with that soldier Milky Way. We need to stay as far away from him as possible. I wouldn't have messed with him if I had known he was that powerful, said Xu Zhong, feeling regretful. If I had made friends with him, I could have gained his help during the adventures on the following levels of Wu Chi Tower. Then things would have been much easier. Luo Feng's right golden claw bent a little. The claws were like blades. The claw slashed the back of the scaled strange beast, and the beast rolled over. The godly body of the scaled strange beast kept being weakened by the constant attacks. Those gleaming, golden claws were like tumbling waves, slashing the scaled strange beast continuously. The beast lost a large part of its godly body, and its power was already reduced by 80%. Naturally, it was being crushed. Milky Way, please spare my life. The scaled strange beast grew exceedingly anxious and began to beg for its life. Luo Feng didn't give a damn. I am willing to give you all my valuables, said the scaled strange beast. It was terrified as it didn't want to die. I can still get your valuables if I kill you, Luo Feng said, transmitting his voice. Besides, you chose to enter Wu Chi Tower yourself, so you should have prepared for death. You're much weaker now. Even if I spared your life now, what about the following levels? Do you really think you could survive what still awaits you? Besides, if I don't kill a soldier, I won't be able to enter the second level. Then I'll be annihilated by Wu Chi Tower. I don't want to die. Plus, even if you survived against me, you wouldn't be able to kill any other soldiers. You'll die anyway. The scaled strange beast understood. However, it was facing death, and it didn't want to die like that. It wanted to live as long as it could. As for the dangers in the future, it didn't care about that. I need to kill you to get to level 2, Luo Feng said, his voice cold and steady. This scaled strange beast had attacked him first. If he hadn't been powerful enough, he would have been killed. No, said the beast in despair. It couldn't do anything but watch itself become weaker and weaker. Even if it exploded, the power couldn't reach level 10. Under attacks like tumbling waves, the scaled strange beast was annihilated. It left lots of valuables behind, said Luo Feng. He waved his hands and took up all the objects left on the plains. There was a black claw within the objects left behind. It was the machine-type valuable left by the scaled strange beast. World of Jin, said Luo Feng. It has the complete ancient civilization, and it's especially proficient at machine-type valuables, he exclaimed. If a universe master can reach level 10 with godly power burning techniques and machine-type valuables, it will be as powerful as Teacher Origin in Universe Ocean. It was to be expected. Machine-type valuables could greatly improve a law master's power and could enable him to fight true gods. Luo Feng took lots of valuables, and he understood that he had been able to kill that scaled strange beast only because he was able to move swiftly and dodge the attack. He was at a great advantage when it came to dodging, even facing a true god, which had been proven in Nine Smoke Marsh. It's better to kill an elite soldier than to kill 10 true gods. Luo Feng looked around. On the plains, the wind was still blowing, and there was fighting in several directions. Those soldiers sometimes gave Luo Feng a look. "They're all far from me." Luo Feng couldn't help shaking his head. He was planning on killing 1 or 2 more soldiers to get more valuables. After all, he had lots of people to take care of: the humans, the Earthlings, and even the Luos. They all needed valuables. However, the soldiers all treated him as a huge threat at the moment, so they might have run away if he attempted to make a move. "I'll wait until the next level," Luo Feng thought. Generally, only 10% can survive Wu Chi Tower, yet 50% were already killed on the first level. The winners can get valuables, so I'll kill those winners and get more trophies. Luo Feng looked around, stopped hesitating, and flew toward the cyan pillar like a streak of light. Luo Feng flew toward that cyan light pillar, and it didn't stop him. He was like a beam of golden light under the path of the cyan light pillar. He surged and disappeared. The soldiers were relieved. Finally, he entered the second level. Phew. Finally. It's a good thing. If Luo Feng was watching them fight, they would feel anxious. They could clearly tell that they were not at his level. "We're all the best elites in the special armies, so there shouldn't be any beings significantly stronger than us. Why is Milky Way is so much stronger? Especially his close combat techniques. How come? Even true gods don't have body techniques like that." After Luo Feng left, they all returned to fighting each other in groups. Luo Feng had killed the strange beast very quickly, but contrary to Luo Feng, the rest of them took a long time to finish the battle. Luo Feng felt that time and space were twisted. The dimming light was blurry, and he showed up in a new place from the cyan light pillar. Luo Feng looked around. It was a dark red land. There were fissures across the ground, and red fluids flowed beneath, venting steam that burst from the cracks. The sky was covered by dark clouds. 5 soldiers. Luo Feng looked into the distance. There were 5 soldiers, and all 5 stayed far from each other. Apparently, they were on high alert. The former group. Luo Feng moved his mind. "New soldiers have arrived," said a handsome teenager in dark red armor. He smiled. The color of his armor perfectly matched the shade of the ground. "Why? Why are you waiting for the next round?" asked Luo Feng. The teenager in dark red armor smiled all the more, yet his eyes glinted ferociously. "When we arrived, Wu Chi Tower told us that each round requires 10 soldiers, and only 5 of the soldiers from our group survived. So we're waiting for you." Luo Feng nodded. 3 groups of soldiers had already entered before him. There were 13 soldiers in 3 groups, so there should have been 15 who survived unless there were unexpected circumstances. "How will the second level of Wu Chi Tower test us?" asked Luo Feng. The soldiers answered. "Don't know," said one. "We don't know either," answered another. "You're the first to arrive. It seems you're the strongest in your group." "Just luck," said Luo Feng. "What about the other soldiers?" asked the teenager in the red armor. "They'll be here in a minute," Luo Feng said with a smile. Only after half an hour later, the soldiers arrived, and they arrived at almost the same time. As soon as Xu Zhong arrived, his bib bird turned, opened its wings, and flew away. He looked around and saw Luo Feng in the distance. All 4 soldiers tried to stay as far away from Luo Feng as possible, and the other 5 soldiers noted their reaction. It was evident that these 4 soldiers were very wary of the one who had arrived before them. "He intimidates so many elite soldiers. We need to be wary of him." The soldiers from the last group were all shocked. At that moment, 10 light pillars fell from the sky, covering all the soldiers. This video will end here.